3, 2, 1. Jack Dewar, the pirate.
Good morning.
Welcome to the podcast, bro.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Living the dream.
Yeah. Let's start off by chatting a bit about you, man. For those community members of ours that haven't had a chance to meet you yet.
Cool. Where do I start?
What do you do?
What do I do? I'm Jack. I'm a recomp coach. So basically a personal trainer, but as a recomp coach, I've had an additional step of learning to teach people how to actually lift very heavy weights, ideally with a good technique. Registered sports nutritionist with the International Society of Sports Nutrition. Very exciting stuff. And yeah, I've been doing that for 5 years, give or take. It's very exciting. That's what I do.
So good. And we've been working together for some time now?
Some time, about 6 or 7 months.
Yeah. We've got to hang out and be in the trenches together. With this recomp coach stuff, should we dive into that a little bit more and and help our community understand what it entails and how you use your skills to help your clients with this recomp coach stuff?
Yeah, of course. So basically with just personal training as a whole, it's all about trying to facilitate, exercise for clients and improve general well-being. But being a recomp coach is just the next level in terms of, another level as such, not the next one, it's not the last one, but it's another level of teaching people to go above and beyond what would be just normal physiques. I can actually help people massively improve their physique, both by gaining a lot of muscle or losing a lot of body fat, which both of those things actually come with a lot of risks. So, with the more weight you lift, you do run the risk of injuring yourself, but you do so in the hope of building more muscle than normal. So you have what people would just call, I guess, everyday fitness, everyday ability to move. But my job is one of my jobs is to try and train people to go over and above and actually become athletic. So it's essentially a level of sports performance that includes bodybuilding and powerlifting and overall weightlifting. No Olympic lifting, though. Yeah. I often joke that I just am a glorified personal trainer, basically because I do personal train people, but I can actually teach people to lift heavy weights because that's part of my skill set. And also I absolutely preach every single part of it. I'm not just someone who says that I can do it. I can do it. Yeah.
Working alongside you, man, I've certainly seen the way that you interact with your clients, and I've witnessed the methods and all of the things that you do day to day. It's very calculated. You're very good at what you do.
Thank you.
Yeah. I've worked with other personal trainers in the past, and you guys are worlds apart. So it's a testament of, I guess, of what you do and you dedicating yourself to ongoing learning and practicing what you preach.
That's right.
I know you take the time out to help your clients with, for example, measuring their body fat, and I see you doing a good job with the calipers.
That's right. Measuring body fat with the calipers is actually a really important part of it.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't consider the data background of being a recomp coach. There's a lot of non-tangible things when it comes to this sort of journey with weight training and dieting and stuff, like non-tangibles like your improved confidence and how you feel when you have clothes on or off and all that kind of stuff. But your tangible things are going to be like the thickness of actual fat on certain parts of your body. A lot of clients just want visible six-pack abs. But if there's 30 millimeters of fat on top of the abs, which you measure with the calipers, then they're not going to be visible no matter how much you train them. So it's important to have some kind of a method or metric in place for us to measure that body fat being reduced, and calipers is the way to go.
I've seen you do that really well, man.
Thank you.
I know our coach Darko has recently checked in for a body fat
He
test.
did.
I'd love to book in as well, man. I haven't done it with you yet, but I'd love to check in.
We'll get it all sorted. The shredded beard came in, I think, a little bit leaner than he expected.
I think leaner than we all expected, to tell you the truth.
I think that's right, yeah. He actually has got a pretty good physique under that big shirt he wears.
Yeah. So body fat tests that you do are one example. I've seen you do other things that are very calculated and structured and strategic. I know your app that you use with your clients. Is there anything else that you'd like to share that are, I guess, tools in your toolkit that help you do what you do day to day?
A really good question. So when I actually do, brand new client assessments, one of those tools is actually just some sort of performance metric. So most recently in the last several months, new clients will undergo a sort of physical assessment where I test mobility, and then based on their mobility, I pick a very small handful of just movement patterns. I push, pull, hinge, lunge, squat, something like that. Mm-hmm. I'll pick a variation of one of those movements and then just train them on it. So as a tool, I use a movement. A lot of the time it's something very simple like bench press, if they can comfortably do a bench press. And then that's going to be an awesome metric ongoing for the rest of their training is, have they gained bench press strength? Have they improved bench press technique? Are they more confident under the bench press? And then the same thing applies to any other exercise I choose. And I can track all that using my Recomposer software. Mm-hmm. And that plus skin folds, that's about it, really. Really, just lots of main performance metrics, mobility and training performance. Yeah.
With the nutrition side of things, I know that you do a good job with calories in, calories out, and that. Let's touch on that a little bit.
Sure.
Because for years I've always avoided counting calories, and I always just put it in I'm just going to try and do a balanced diet or eat well or do the right thing, but I won't bother with the calorie counting as such.
Yep.
How do you find all of that and teaching new clients how to do it? And do you use it much?
I do, actually. It's extremely challenging. Probably one of the most challenging aspects is to convince people that they have to be responsible for the amount of food that they're actually eating and how they track that. Because the funny thing about nutrition plans is you could write a nutrition plan and they're kind of pointless, because unless the person was prepared to buy every product that you put on their nutrition plan and weigh it to the exact gram, they end up not necessarily taking responsibility for anything that goes wrong with that. They're like, I followed your meal plan and it didn't work. In a lot of cases, that was not necessarily true. It's just important to try to train people to understand that if it doesn't work straight away, that they've got to let me know, and then we can just adjust the calories, but also that it's going to be impossible to stick to a meal plan 100% of the time. So it's about training people to balance their own food if they happen to miss breakfast or they happen to go out for dinner or they don't get their protein shake one day. It's not the end of the world. So the nutrition aspect of being a recomp coach is very challenging, mainly because the fact that meal plans just don't work. So I'm trying to transition into a little bit more flexible dieting for people and teaching that they can really eat whatever they want. I might actually give them some sort of guideline nutrition plan that does have chicken and eggs and fruit and whatever, but actually it's going to be up to them to make sure that they're hitting their macros. Most importantly, the protein macro. The rest of them I don't really mind, unless they're a high-performing athlete. But that's a very challenging aspect of being a recomp coach, is that transition into making the client be responsible for what they're eating.
I've hit those road bumps myself in the past with clients that have had other nutritionists give them meal plans. And then I think once our client has that meal plan, you're right, they don't have that much accountability and they're not in the driver's seat of their diet journey.
That's right.
They're quick to go, this is the plan. I feel like I've been sticking to it, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes
That's
they
right.
do. And then they're quick to go, this whole thing isn't working. I'll just give up on exercise, or I'll give up on this trying to
That's right.
eat well thing.
Yeah, and you can kind of anticipate that a certain diet plan won't work for somebody's lifestyle. Yeah. So you've got to coach them into telling them that I've given you a diet plan, but actually you don't have to eat this every single day, because if you did, that means you'll never go out for breakfast, you'll never go out for dinner, and if you do, you just won't eat. You'll order the glass of water. It's trying to get people to live probably more of a balanced lifestyle, but within reason. Yeah. So teaching clients to track their food as accurately as possible.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips for our community listening that's like, okay, you're telling me to track it, what do I do? How do I get started? I don't know, maybe it's not as easy as you giving them tips through our podcast, or maybe we can scratch the surface.
Oh, definitely I've got some tips. So the first one that I have said to so many clients is, if you're in doubt, eat less. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that you just need to not eat. It just means that, like, if you're going out for a meal and you're tracking in, I don't know, pasta carbonara or something, it'll be a really safe bet to easily add 20% to whatever you can roughly track in bacon, cream, and pasta. Mm-hmm. Add 20%, because then you're not going to force yourself to, like, overeat. You would rather over-track a meal that you don't know what's in it rather than under-track it. So if in doubt, eat less, which means push those calories up 20% from ordering out. If you're ever not in the position to actually track any food, that means just maybe eat a smaller portion than what you normally would. If you're going to go for a bag of chips, grab the medium-sized bag of chips instead of the large one, or the 600ml Pepsi instead of the 1.2 Pepsi, or whatever. Mm-hmm. So it's an if in doubt about nutrition, eat less. The bulk of the goals for people are usually to lose body fat, so that's probably my first go-to tip. The other one is the only macro that's important if you're trying to lose weight is protein. So hit your protein macro, and then with however many calories you've got left, just make that up in carbohydrates and fat.
Okay.
Yeah. So, most people might have between 140 and 180 grams of protein a day. Hit that, but if you've got 2,000 calories, make up the other 1,200 calories from other sources. Don't really care where you get it from, as long as you're enjoying the food. You don't want to resent the food. You don't want to develop a poor relationship with the food by just eating the same thing every day and never feeling that you can deviate. And if you do deviate, you get that sense of failure and disappointment, and that's horrible relationship to have with food. So, protein macro. If in doubt, eat less.
Okay.
And have some ice cream every now and then.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Jack's go-to top 3 tips. Have some ice cream, hit your protein macro. If in doubt, eat less.
I like it, man. And what do you get your clients when they're starting their calorie counting, etc.? Are you guys using an app? Are they reporting back to you? How do you help them figure out the whole setup of the thing?
It takes a couple of weeks to get used to it, but I set them up on MyFitnessPal. I usually do it for them if they've never done it before, so I'll set their calories, set their macros as closely as I can, and then I'll actually email them a diet plan. But what I'll actually do is I'll show them how to track food into the breakfast, lunch, and dinner in MyFitnessPal. I'll show them how to scan barcodes. I even go to the point of showing clients how to create recipes.
Okay.
So if you have something that you eat often that's not necessarily on a meal plan, like a homemade pizza, you could easily just create a recipe in MyFitnessPal with pizza base, pizza sauce, pizza meat, pizza cheese, and track it all in. And then I teach the client how to do that. So that's the very beginning is MyFitnessPal. The other part that the clients end up doing is not tracking their food over time. And that's actually where I want people to get to, is the point where they might have half a dozen different options for breakfast, half a dozen for lunch, and half a dozen for dinner. And they have been doing it long enough that they know that they can cycle between certain breakfast foods, lunch foods, dinner foods, snack foods to hit their macros. And they get to the point where they only need to track food once or twice a week, and that might be on a Friday or a Saturday. Because if you do eat the same stuff most of the time, you don't need to track it. You really only need to track it when you're unsure about what you're actually going to be eating and how that compares to your dietary intake. So if you're going out for something you've never eaten, then track it in, see how that looks against your daily calories and macros, and then go from there. But if you do it again, you know that the piece of food that you're eating has X amount of calories and X amount of fat in it, and then you can intuitively eat from there. That takes a reasonable amount of time to learn, maybe 6 to 12 months, so long as that person maintains a good relationship with food.
Is that a bit of a time frame that you do encourage your clients to calorie count? About 6 to 12 months, and then we'll start to...
Yeah, I definitely do encourage it, yeah.
And when you say Friday and Saturday, is that because our clients are going out then, and Saturdays are a bit more spontaneous with nutrition?
A bit more spontaneous. They might sleep in more and miss breakfast, or they'll miss lunch and go out for a bigger dinner, and things like that. So the good thing about that is that in MyFitnessPal, you can actually plan for days in advance. You can even look at a menu for somewhere, pick an item you want to order, and track it in the MyFitnessPal in advance. Okay. And then actually on the day, all you know that you have to do is maybe eat some chicken and some fruit, and maybe skip lunch, and then you're good to go for whatever meal you're ordering at dinner time. Plus alcohol as well. You can track alcohol in. So it's really important that clients learn that.
Okay. And as a part of your you working with your clients, you do the calculating for how many calories they should be hitting and the targets. So your clients are well aware of, okay, this is the amount that I need on a daily, on a weekly?
Yeah, that's right. That's actually a really good point to bring up. So with the clients that are doing like dieting, like to lose body fat, which at the moment is not actually all of them, but I try to give them a weekly budget of like calories. You know, if you need to eat 1,500 calories to lose weight, I tell them that over the week they actually need 10,500, which means that there could be days where they eat 2,500, but then there has to be days where they only eat 1,000.
Okay.
So the protein macro would remain consistent across 7 days, and then they would just adjust their carbs and fats throughout the day if they want to eat more on one day and happy to eat less on another day. But I work that out pretty early, and I can be pretty consistent. The good thing about it is it's almost never perfect straight away. It's always a really strong estimation, and then it's a good process of trial and error, which is why it's really important for the clients to actually stick to their calories and macros as closely as possible, at least for the first 2 to 4 weeks. So then I can go, okay, the calories I gave you were a deficit, or they were a surplus, or you actually do sit down during the day more than I thought you do, which means actually you're on too many calories, and you need to move more or eat less, and it requires a bit of consistency. Okay. So I like going with a weekly budget.
Yeah. What made you decide to do what you do? You're very good at what you do, and I see you, honestly, and I see you transforming a lot of lives in the gym. And I see the photos that you post up of your clients with their permission of the before and after. I think there's some impressive stuff going on. So why?
And there's more of that to come. I got a couple more clients that are just about ready to take some more photos, which is exciting.
Okay.
But you know, in terms of why, I really just love the idea that you can use something which I think is simple, which is strength training and good balanced nutrition that's pretty consistent to improve your body. I was one of those people that thought you had to exercise like twice a day, morning and night, on a low carb diet to lose weight, and I did for a very long time. I followed a low carb diet, lost 20 kilos, and after the end of losing 20 kilos, I did not have a very impressive physique whatsoever. And it was mainly because I did not have a lot of muscle mass. My nutrition was poor. I exercised way too much. And I did not know how to exercise very well, so I wasn't strong for my body weight. So that massive loss of weight didn't make me look as good as I would have thought. So then I actually sought out a coach. I ended up getting coached by a really strong and intelligent coach named Alex, and he helped me transform my body into being more muscular than it was, and that required me to change my mindset on nutrition, actually reduce the amount of time I was exercising, and going from there, I realized that going from this perception of having to do running every morning, cycling every night, plus weight training, plus hundreds of crunches to try to develop a physique was not actually the way to go. I needed to up my protein intake and improve my strength and my mobility so that I could move well. And I wanted to take that learning and go, I work with so many people in this office that are very overweight. They have no idea how to train. They're all miserable. Their postures are bad. And I would look at everyone around me and go, I could change this. Because people at my work are asking me like, Jack, you're looking really good. How are you doing it? I'm like, I'm just bench pressing twice a week and squatting and deadlifting, and I'm eating lots of protein. Like, it's so simple. And even though I had those conversations with people in the place that I worked at, I realized that they never really absorbed it. And it made me realize I was one of those people that would talk to people that were stronger and bigger and leaner than me, and they would tell me, you should eat more protein, maybe run a little bit less, and learn to lift weights. I'm like, yeah, fine, whatever. But I never actually applied that because I don't even know what the word is, too proud, too arrogant, too ego-driven to think that someone knew something that I didn't. And after coaching with Alex for a few years, I realized that I had it all wrong. And I wanted to make it my mission to actually help people to do the same thing. There are going to be plenty of people out there that were like me, that were between the age of 18 and 20 that were overweight, coming into their adulthood, didn't feel comfortable wearing clothes, didn't feel comfortable without clothes, all of that stuff really plays on you, and I wanted to change my body, and I wanted to look like the dudes on the magazines.
Yeah.
And to get that done, I needed to train really hard and diet hard, and I wanted to do the same for other people. So I started studying for being a personal trainer. I started looking into how to become a recomp coach like Alex was for me. And yeah, that's led me to here 5 years later.
Fascinating journey, man. To think that to make the big improvements, you had to exercise less, crank up protein, and cut out some of these things that you were perhaps overdoing.
That's right.
Recalibrate and redial, and then get more results.
That's right. Yeah.
Interesting how in the moment we think, oh no, we got this. I've been doing it.
Yeah.
I've been doing it this way. It's got to work, right?
Yeah.
And then we reassess and realize, nope, there's actually better ways of doing it.
There are. And a big mistake was thinking that any way that I did choose was supposed to work faster than I thought it would. But actually what I needed was a more structured, consistent training program and a little bit of patience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you find that are you able to use that journey and use your success story and you transforming your life from a sedentary lifestyle to now being in the gym, 5-6 times a week? Are you able to tap into that and help your clients with their journey?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, especially the ones that have the similar idea I did, the ones that were a bit overweight and thought that all they needed to do was run a lot and not eat very much. But what they really needed to do was not do that.
Yeah.
Prioritize getting good sleep, train with a good technique, and actually eat a reasonable amount of protein. There's a sort of fine line there between eating enough to grow and recover and eating too much to gain weight. So there's usually an increase of food for those people. I'm like, okay, you're going to eat a little bit more. And you're like, oh, I don't want to gain any weight. I'm too scared of eating more. And I'm like, no. If you train reasonably well with weight training, that food has to go somewhere. And we want that to help, grow new tissue. And that tissue's got to be muscle tissue. So, yeah, I feel like I can definitely use, my journey as a way to push people that especially did what I did. Yeah.
It's powerful, man.
Very.
I see a lot of our community that I guess hit the panic button when they receive nutrition advice, and it is to eat more because they're training hard, they're squatting, they're deadlifting, they're benching, they're in the gym 2-3 times a week, they're enjoying activities outside of the gym, and then when their nutrition coach tells them, okay, we got to eat more. They go, no, and they stomp their feet into the ground and they go, no way, I can't eat more. I'm already not making gains. I've already been struggling to make, to cut weight. And what now? You want me to eat more? So it's really good to hear a coach that's using it successfully discussing this.
Very
I think
much so.
I think it'll bring a lot of value to our community.
I hope so.
Yeah, to I guess calm them down and go, no, this is how it works. It's important.
Very
and then,
important.
of course, like you say, we can reassess from there and dial the calories down if we need to.
Or dial them up.
Or dial them up.
Yeah.
Real powerful.
Very powerful.
What do you think of, you and I work with clients almost every day. What do you think are the lessons learned from our clients, and what separates the clients that get a lot of results and the ones that don't?
That's a really good question. So I'll start with the second one, which was what separates those clients from the results ones and the lack of, is probably just consistency. So you really even at the moment this year, I got a couple of clients that are doing really, really well. And it's because for some reason this year they've decided to be very, very consistent, even with only 2 sessions a week. And that's king. I mean, a lot of people in my profession will just tell you consistency is key. Even if you're consistently doing something that's not necessarily optimal, at least you can reflect on that and go, okay, I've done this thing for 6 months. It wasn't optimal. I'm going to change it. At least that their attitude and their personality is driven by consistency, which means those people are much easier to work with. And what was the first question you asked me?
Just lessons learned.
Lessons learned.
I guess either through mistakes or things that our clients do or don't do. I really like what you've just said. Consistency. I find the same thing. Yeah, the difference between someone getting lots of results and someone not getting enough is, when you talk to a client, you go, when's the last time you hit some weights, and they're like, oh, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. Like, yeah. Whereas like the other client, that's like, no, I did it last week, the week before, and I got 1 or 2 sessions, and then you see it play out over 6 or 12 months.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that, all those little things compound, and it's got to be consistency with behavioral changes, consistency with training, and it's really important that it's super consistent. You look at anyone that's got a great physique or a great sport performance, or they're a great athlete in some form, they are consistent. You cannot have a complete lack of consistency unless you're genetically blessed. So it's super, super important. In terms of like lessons I've learned from clients over the years is that not everyone is actually like built the same and has like the same genetic code. So it can be sometimes difficult to program people for nutrition and training knowing that they're all really different, especially since the concepts of dieting for fat loss, dieting for muscle gain, and improving mobility and training, the concepts are all the same across the board, but they don't necessarily apply the same to each people, because they've got different levers and they don't move the same way, or they've got different genetics and they have to eat way less food than someone next to them. So the biggest challenge there is that everybody is different. And I started the personal trainer with this narrow-minded approach that just didn't work for so many people. I'm like, why isn't this working? Why can't this person squat? And I'm like, maybe there's something wrong with them, but it was what was wrong with me. I was trying to get a person to squat when they couldn't squat or they were uncomfortable. So that's what I've had to learn is that not everyone is the same, and they do need a somewhat tailored approach with all the same concepts applied to dieting and training.
Let's explore that example of someone not being able to squat because they're in discomfort or pain.
Yeah.
How would you tailor what you do, generally speaking? Does that mean they never squat with you in the future, or do they build up a squat, or their tolerance improves, or?
It would mean that I'd probably go through this sort of very brief assessment process, and that's why assessments are really important on new clients. First of all, I want to figure out, does the person even want to squat? Do they want to have a good squat? Do they understand the benefits of good squatting? And then if they do, I'll assess their mobility and see if I can improve that and improve their technique. A lot of the time you can improve performance with just technique alone. So I'll go down that avenue. But if the person's not really interested in squatting, there are 100 different ways you can train the legs. You can do a split squat, a walking lunge, a leg press, a leg extension, a pistol squat, whatever. So it's not necessarily essential, but that's probably the route I'd go down, is just go, do you understand the benefits of this? And if you do you want to continue learning how to do it? Because I can teach you. So, yeah. Would you go down a similar route yourself if you had any client that just couldn't do a movement that you thought was valuable for their development?
I would, yeah. You're right, there's 101 different ways to do it. I think in my experience, a lot of the time our clients come in and they've had a bad experience with squatting because at some point in time they went too heavy too quick, were lacking confidence with the squat, and maybe they hurt themselves, or maybe they jacked up their back, or whatever happened. And then from that point on, it was always like, squats is the enemy.
The enemy.
That one time,
my nemesis.
I got that pain. It was from squatting, or it was from that session. Oh, I did squats, and that's what occurred. So I invest a bit of time in I guess education and retraining, and I guess debunking that and bringing the walls down. And then like you, where I together with the client, I make a decision of, okay, should we attempt to rebuild it, or should we just move on and do something else? And most of the time we end up rebuilding it pretty damn well, and it comes, whether it's in the form of a box squat or a controlled squat or goblet squat, or it doesn't have to be barbell straight away, but
any other solid variation, they're all good.
They are all good. Consistency, you reckon?
I reckon
that's a take-home message for the community, is consistency with their training.
That's right, consistency. Even if it's only once a week, it compounds over time, and it's a good, constant behavioural change that actually reaps really good benefits.
Your own training.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah, how often are you training? What are you training? Inside and outside of the gym? What's Jack's tips? Well, I guess, what's Jack doing?
Well, my training's pretty simple. It doesn't have to be that complex. At the moment, I'm doing 5 a week, and it's always an interesting question I get when people say, "What's your training like at the moment?" It's never the same. I do the same things, but sometimes I train 3 times a week, sometimes it's 5, and sometimes it's 6. At the moment, I'm training 5 times a week. I do 3 upper body days and 2 lower body days. I'm really just training to improve my technique in the squat. I'm trying to get a really strong Romanian deadlift, and I'm trying to maintain my bench performance. And that is pretty much, in terms of exercise selection, what I'm working on. The other thing is I really want to get big shoulders, so I train shoulders 3 times a week. And I like staying at a relatively lean body fat, hopefully less than 10% most of the year. So I just make sure that I train enough to stay that lean and eat enough to stay that lean. So when the time comes and my block of training comes to an end, I might reduce my days from 5 to 3. And if I find I'm getting a little bit chonky, I'll just increase those days again or decrease my food. And I'm pretty intuitive about it. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing at the moment. Just training lots of upper body.
Upper body 3 times a week.
3 times a week.
Lower body twice a week.
Twice a week,
How long is one training session for you, roughly, when you hit it?
Roughly is not that long. About maybe 45 to 55 minutes, including warm-ups and mobility drills. So when I had to get myself ready to become a recomp coach, I had to undergo an 8-week transformation, and I conditioned myself to train with a lot of training volume in a really short space of time. So I can perform about 30 to 40 sets of training in an hour or less with a reasonably heavy weight. So I don't have to dial my weights back to 50 or 60%. I can train reasonably heavy, and I've got relatively good stamina when it comes to weight training. So I can actually get a lot done in a short period of time. I end up peppering things in back to back. I'll do calves between side raises, and I'll do pull-ups between sets of dumbbell bench. So I can economize my training session to fit within a 1 hour block usually.
That's powerful. I see you, you don't take much rest, right? You're programming and doing different drills.
Doing different drills, yep.
Outside of the gym, I know you do a little bit of incidental walking. Are you doing much else at this point in time?
At this point in time, I'm riding my bike a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got a push bike. I'm not very good at it. I'm extremely. I've got very low cardiac sort of like ability to cycle for very long. So I'm working on that. I'm trying to ride 3 or 4 times a week for like 20 minutes.
Okay.
And that's about it. Otherwise, lots of walking. I pretty much get between 12 and 15,000 steps a day religiously. And that's not difficult to achieve in this particular profession, but lots of walking, a bit of cycling, and a lot of training. And really, at the end of the day, I train that hard and do that much activity because I really like food. I just want to eat. Man, I'm hanging out for like some nachos or something on the weekend.
Yeah.
And I train hard, I eat big, and I train hard again.
It works for you, man.
It's a good cycle.
Yeah. Interests outside of the gym.
Good question.
What do you get up to?
So I like this question because I got a couple of interests. I live a pretty quiet life. I don't usually get up to much like hiking or yoga or anything like that. I love sitting at home in my spare time, and I absolutely love baking, and that actually stemmed from a love of food. I sort of have a little side hustle on the side, making celebration cakes for birthdays, events, and weddings. My specialty is all gluten-free baking, and having celiac disease and being severely gluten intolerant, I went a really long period of time without being able to eat what other people ate, cakes and cookies and biscuits and breads and things like that. And when I went through high school, I learned how to cook. And then after that, I just got into baking in my spare time. Unfortunately, I gained a lot of weight doing that. And now I can do it for customers, keep a little bit of leftover scraps for myself, and I get to enjoy cakes and fudge and brownies all the time. And I get to train it off, and it's actually a really, really good gig. I'm relatively creative, and that's my one creative outlet is doing celebration baking. It's quite fun.
Man, I've seen your cakes. I've tasted your cakes. They are insane.
They are delicious.
It's not your ordinary cookie cutter cakes. Like
No.
they are
Proper.
They are serious cakes that you're baking.
Serious
man.
cakes.
They look amazing, and they taste even better.
Thank you. They're usually a 2 or 3 day prep each time.
Yeah. I know every time we've had the opportunity to have some, they are delicious.
Delicious.
Yeah.
Thank
My
you.
favorite was that white and
black and white one.
Black and white one that you did.
That was neat because that was just, man, it was just brownies and white chocolate, like whipped white chocolate, just like layered up. It was so good. Yeah. That should be a crime, that much cake. It's too good.
Yeah.
What about you?
I love moving outside of the gym, so I love exploring.
We're kind of opposites in that, aren't we?
Yeah. I mean, I enjoy chilling at home. I'm a bit of a movie buff, so I watch a lot of movies and TV shows. But outside of the gym, I like learning new things. So I'm practicing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu now, and I'm trying my best to be consistent with that. I like cycling. I'm fortunate enough to be close to the river, so in Brizzy we've got the river loop that we do, and then every now and then we take on like a Brisbane to Redcliffe ride, or
that's a big ride.
Yeah, or go up Mount Cootha or Mount Gravatt. I don't do as much running right now because I'm still playing football, so I do that 2 nights a week. We train once a week and then compete on the weekends, and that's good fun.
Sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I like spending time with my dog.
Shady.
Yeah, and trying
to
get a bit of discipline with him and train him. And to tell you the absolute truth, I've taken some inspiration from you, man. When you were hanging out with Shady, how quickly you were able to teach him some tricks and get him going. So, and I've seen you with your dog as well.
I love my dog.
Yeah.
He's a good boy.
Kami.
Yeah, it's a Japanese word that means deity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I see you with your treats and
a little treat bag,
making him work for it. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what the trick is? Consistency.
Funny how that works.
How that works.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to get them young.
Yeah. I think other hobbies for me, man. I'm getting into a bit of outdoor stuff. Camping and 4-wheel driving and using the opportunity to see Queensland and get out and about outside of Brisbane and hit up some tracks.
That's good. That's powerful. It's important, I think, for our clients and customers to view us as not just these people that hang around at the gym all the time. We've actually got lives, and we can, do this sort of stuff to look and feel good while still having a life. And I think that's really powerful.
I think so, man. Perfect opportunity for us to end this. For our community, where can they find you?
Where can they find me?
Yeah,
they can find me.
Find those cakes.
Oh, those cakes! I've actually got 2 Instagrams. So for any training content, you can find me at Recomp Coach Jack on Instagram, and also at Jack Dewar 92. If you're looking at getting a little bit of gluten-free cake action, I offer competitive prices and pick-up only.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I'd strongly recommend them. Thank you guys for tuning in. Do what you got to do. Hit the subscribe button. Switch the bell on. And drop some comments below. Let us know what you think, and we'll continue delivering the spicy content, as Jack Dewar would say.
That's it. Spicy content here at ZAR Athletica. Don't miss out. Click the bell.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.